Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. I hope it's a wonderful Friday or Saturday, wherever you are in the world. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. We proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and it's my pleasure to host this show today. The topic today is If I Could Talk to the Animals. And the star of our show, Pet Psychic Amina, will be walking us through how and when she realized that she was able to communicate with animals. She's not backstage just yet, so before she gets here, if you think about it, I feel like we can all communicate with animals in some way. And I feel they communicate with us as well. And how do we see this and feel this? Well, first of all, feeling it, we can feel how another creature feels. For example, I live somewhere where we have a ton of lizards and iguanas, and they always run away. Fortunately, they see me and they run the other way, and they run as fast as they can. So obviously they feel some kind of fear. And I also used to feel some fear, but I've gotten used to the fact that they're running away, so I don't feel as fearful as before. But we can really look at the body language of a dog, of a cat, of any kind of pet we might have, whether it's a fish or if it's a bird, and we can surmise at some level what it is that they're feeling. But to really be able to communicate with them and to receive messages about their health, for example, or how they're truly feeling, that is not something I have the ability to do, but Pet Psychic Amina definitely does. So if any of you out there also have the incredible ability to be able to communicate with animals, we'd love to hear from you. Please go to our YouTube channels, which are USA Global TV and Radio, and also Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. And you can put your comments there, as well as Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram for this particular show. We're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors about cybersecurity, such an important issue. And then we'll be back, hopefully, with Pet Psychic Amina. So right now, we're going to tee up Dr. Felix Kravitz, and he's the founder of cybersecurityeasy.com. Let's take a look.
We face daily cyber risks, spending over 7 hours of screen time, including 4.5 hours on mobile phones. This convenience comes with significant dangers, with cybercrime costs predicted to exceed $10.5 trillion by 2025. In 2023 alone, seniors lost over $3.4 billion to cybercrime. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, senior living facilities, investment companies, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We offer real-life examples to help you recognize and prevent attacks, with sessions available both in person, in selected regions, and remotely. Schedule your training session, or to learn more, contact us today. Call us at 847-845-9360. Email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com. Protect your team and family with cybersecurityeasy.com.
My name is Dr. Felix Kravitz, and I am the founder of cybersecurityeasy.com, LLC. We live in a world full of vulnerabilities and cyber risks. We spend almost 4.5 hours a day on our mobile phones. It's over 7 hours of screen time daily when including computer use. We often forget that this convenience comes with risks, published data predicts that the cost of cybercrime will exceed $10.5 trillion in 2025. These numbers encompass not only businesses, but also each one of us, including our children and our parents. In 2023, the FBI reported over $3.4 billion lost by seniors aged 60 and older. CybersecurityEasy.com LLC's initiative is to massively support the community by providing cyber safety coaching and improving social engineering awareness. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, seniors, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We cover various topics from phone phishing attacks to AI-generated voice cloning, robocalls, password protection, and more using life examples. Talk to us today. Call us at 847-845-9360 or email us at info@cybersecurity-easy.com.
Welcome back to our show, Coexistence and Sustainability, and our topic, If I Could Talk to the Animals. We just heard Dr. Felix Kravitz talk about AI, or artificial intelligence, and apparently scientists are using AI to better understand how to communicate with animals. Let's take a look at a recent article from last year, at the end of the year, which is how scientists are using AI to talk to animals. So I found this to be quite interesting because in this article, there is information about how apparently gorillas use sign language to speak and to communicate. And I guess upon further research, they're finding out that maybe was not the case. But with artificial intelligence and the deployment of it, they are able to better understand animals' behaviors and therefore how to communicate with them. So this is from SciAM, and it's by Sophie Bushwick. So if you want to take a look at this, actually it's from February of 2023. So you can take a look at that on your own and see what comes up for you. So I remember when I had 3 dogs. They were really adorable. I had 2 Catans and I had 1 Maltese. And I felt that each of them had their own personality. So the Maltese was, she was so adorable. She would always stand on her back legs and she'd clap like this. She'd go up and down, up and down, up and down. And Star was always looking at herself in the mirror, and I think she was really afraid of people. I believe she had been abused. And then Ritzy, even though she wasn't smiling per se, she always seemed to have her mouth seemed to be turned up, like she was a very happy dog. So each of the dogs had their very own personality, just like a human being. And although I can't read minds, and I certainly couldn't read their minds, it's pretty easy to determine with the pets that I had when they wanted to eat, when they wanted to go out, when they weren't feeling very well. And at the same time, it almost felt like they knew when I needed a friend, and they would rub up against me. They barked in onto my lap. And so I feel that even though I'm not a pet psychic, and maybe you're not either, that we do have ways of telling what it is that our pets want or need. Now, when it comes to cats, I've never had a cat, and I'm kind of afraid of them because I'm allergic to cats, but I always feel like they're very standoffish and they can jump literally on anything, anywhere. And one of them happened to attack my mother. So that kind of didn't make me be a big fan of cats. But I know a lot of you have cats out there, and it'll be interesting to find out if you feel that you can communicate with your cats. I think typically animals know that you want to do the best for them and that you want to be there for them. And so that is something that we can expand upon further, because Pet Psychic Amina is in the house. Yay. Let's welcome her to the show.
Thank
Hi
you
there.
so
Good to
much.
see you. Good to
Thank
see you today.
You too.
Thank you. So we were
Wonderful.
just talking about communicating with the animals, and obviously you can communicate with the animals. And I was just giving a little information about the 3 dogs that I had and how I felt like I was able to understand some of what they were saying and doing. But you truly are the expert. So if you can just take us back down memory lane, and I know that you were always communicating with animals and you just didn't realize that everybody else wasn't.
Exactly.
What are some of the things you've learned from the animals in terms of being able to listen to what they're saying?
Well, I think the most important thing that anybody should learn, I think for everybody, I don't care if you're talking the bugs, the worms, sorry, I'm one of those, and the birds and the people in or out of your life. When we don't stop, take a deep breath, literally, especially if you're having a disagreement, and figure out, what am I not hearing? What am I not necessarily, oh, they just need to say yes, and I'm glad. And there's many times a conversation just needs a yes, or a no, or a maybe. But that's not all the time. And usually there's far more a part of that conversation that if we get our emotions too high, and that can be happy, sad, mad, glad, whatever the high is, it will complicate your listening ability. And Dr. Jacqueline, this is a perfect segue of just saying the classes you teach on listening is amazing. It is amazing. So these things can be tied together. Everybody has a chance to listen. It will always give you a chance to also say what you need to say. So every time you have a disagreement and or your pets are doing something like going to the bathroom in the house and not in the litter box, or biting or chewing or attacking you, some animals get really, really wound up. These are things you need to start watching. And there's, again, I encourage you to get out the books that are out there. All kinds of wonderful things are out there. So think about, take a deep breath, and this can work from your spouse to your partner, to your children, to the dogs and the cats. Take a deep breath. Think about what is happening and going on, and what do you think the message is? Now, sometimes there's a crisis. Sometimes you got a dog running across the street and there's cars. So there has to be things put in place. Hopefully we all learn this, put them in place before there's a crisis. Let me give you an example. I had adopted a German Shepherd that had been dumped in a backyard. And so you needed a lot of training because I had small children at the time. And what I found was I got on a bike. I was lucky enough somebody gave me a bike because I hadn't had one in a while. And we rode, we got his extras out. Now there's a whole lot of things I'm not going to go into details about, like what do you do for their paws when you're on asphalt and or gravel? What are you doing here? There's a whole bunch of other things to talk about. We'll do that later. But you need to find something that you both like to do. If it's just to get out and get on a walk and let the dog smell everything you go, it's great for their mind. Guess what? It's great for your mind also. So remember, there's not just one path in getting your animals where you want them to be, and or the behavior you want them to have, or the whatever. I don't know, some people absolutely adore animals licking and kissing them. I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those. I'm okay if I have peanut butter on my hand or something like that. I don't know why I would have it, but if the Sandwich League I don't mind sharing that because I can wash my hands easily. I'm not really crazy about my skin being licked, and I don't have a place to wash. So, Dr. Jacqueline, I hope we're getting into the start of this and where and how you begin to talk to your animals, because it's possible. And they are wonderful at looking at cues. What's cues? Well, it could be anybody who has a nervous itch and flips their hair every time they get a little concerned or upset or whatever, or happy. And they do a lot of that. Or they don't shower. Somebody doesn't shower for 3 days because they're just in the funk. Animals will accept you wherever you're at, in your life, in your personal self, and in your day-to-day up and down. Hopefully that gives you a good start.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Definitely. So, yeah, so I think we can actually talk a little bit more specifically about as animals age, just like humans. It's interesting. I was going through some of my mother's things, and even her handwriting started to change as she got older. And I
Wow.
think for pets, maybe their behavior changes as they get older too. Can you share a little bit more about this?
Absolutely. And I think everybody needs to have that space in their relationship for everybody, for everybody. If it's your friend, your neighbor, your grandmother, your grandfather, whoever everybody is, make room for they're not that same person today. I don't know if everybody goes through this. I can only keep it intact with myself. So that's why I don't assume. I want to give you great tips, but I also don't want to say, and when you do this, because maybe you're growing out of doing something or you're moving into doing something. One of the most important thing, and this, it just dawned on me, this is absolutely perfect for this platform. And what I'm talking about, Dr. Jacqueline, do you know what I'm talking about? How we all need a class that you teach regularly, as far as I know. And that is
the power of listening and setting boundaries and asking permission.
Exactly. And that's true for every planet, being, everything. If you're sitting in a bus full of people, they deserve the same courtesy as your child or your mother or your aunt or your uncle. And there's so much there. And Dr. Jacqueline, I would really love, because I haven't heard it in a while, is how do you get people to listen? And I think that will transfer over with what I'm saying is how do you get your pet to listen?
Absolutely. Well, if you think about it, and we've all seen this, people have pets and they start screaming and yelling at the pet. And it's just like you have a partner, you have somebody in your life, you start screaming and yelling at them. What happens?
Yeah.
The person gets defensive. And so then you're adding fuel to the fire, because then the two of you start yelling at each other, and maybe your dog starts barking and you're yelling at the dog. So what I really teach and really promote is the power of listening is a gift. So when someone is acting out, let's say we're talking about your pet, and you decide you're going to hit your pet, or you're going to berate your pet, or you're going to call names to your pet, you're not getting to the actual issue as to why your pet is acting that way. And it's the same thing with a human being. It's basically trying to understand what is it that's going on with the other person. And by the way, how we show up,
thank you,
says a lot about ourselves. So if your dog is whining or crying or barking and you start to lose control of yourself, that only makes the situation more volatile and makes your animal more defensive. So I don't teach listening for pets per se, but I think it could be applied. So just to sum it up quickly, the listening course that I teach, which also includes setting boundaries, which is also good for pets to have. You have boundaries for your animals. Some people allow their pets to walk all over everything they have. They sleep in the bed, and you're treating them, like they're a human being in some ways, instead of having them with their own bed and their own space in their own area. So I'll stop there and see if there's anything you'd like to comment on about what I said.
No, I think it's really, really important to marry, or at least introduce people to the fact that sometimes if you're treating your pet as a work dog or carrier or your life support, and you're not getting, a lot of people use animals today more so than I've ever seen for support animals. And I mean that for your mental health, for your heart health, not necessarily a broken arm or leg or pulling your wheelchair or anything like that, but being there to help you get through the trials of day-to-day life and or a crisis or a death in your family, that things that we really almost all take really hard when we miss our loved ones. Animals are really spectacular at being there for you. If you've ever had a dog in your life, they are a pack animal. They're used to protecting and being there for the pack. All of those are really important things. What you can give back is not only great nutrition, because I'm sorry, nobody works well on Twinkies full time. I don't drink very many Twinkies in my lifetime, but it's called the ingredients. What is the ingredients in your heart? What are you putting out to the world that can do wonders for people that are having a bad day or a hard day? For both of us, I bet Dr. Jacqueline, you've seen this too, is you see somebody going down the street and it's just as easy for you to, get off the curb and go around and or say, hi, I hope you're having a great day. Yeah, it's kind of scary the first couple times you do it and you're not sure if people will respond. But can you imagine if the person you just spoke to had a death in their family within a reasonable couple of days and they heard that? There's everything from the healingness of a good cry, but also saying somebody noticed me, that I was not as happy as I can. And so many times I can't tell you what my work with animals is no different. That animal just wants to be loved. They just want to be pet. They really need, and we should be giving them high quality pet food and good nutrition and exercise. And with all of that, time alone with you, time with your whole pack. It's up to you to see what everybody needs, but it's really nice to be one-on-one. Now, I grew up as a fifth child. Alone time was pretty precious. But again, I was the youngest, so I got left alone a lot, actually, compared to what my siblings said. Your pet needs that break to regenerate, to reacclimate, and to say, okay, they want me to take a bath. I don't like the water. I don't like the bubbles. There's all kinds of bribery in there, and I don't mean just food or treats or whatever, but your attention, your love. You could literally make bath time. If your animal really needs that, you could really, really get in there and have a wonderful time, and that's their treat. Wouldn't it be wonderful, Dr. Declan, if all people who need a bath or need to have a shave or whatever grooming issue, and all we had to do is jump in the shower and go, that wasn't bad, and everybody go, oh yeah, you smell great too. So there's really fun ways you can give yourself a break, show up, and love yourself enough to say, hey, I can do this. I can give it a try, or I can find somebody who can help me. All those things are really, really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your points are really well taken. Listening at an elevated level, even to your pets, is an absolute gift. And when you see someone and you say hello, I do this all the time, and it amazes me because there's a path I've been walking around for 44 years. Hello, and people, they don't say hello. It's so strange.
Not anymore. Remember when we were young and everybody, hi. And even some, the real more talkative ones, that would be you and I and everybody else, would say more. Gosh, I hope you're doing well. That's a wonderful blouse. You don't know how much that positively energy and the way you deliver it is going to make that person's day. Wouldn't that be neat to make somebody's day?
Yeah, something I want to share about that, because this is also something I teach, is when you are going out of your way to be nice to someone and say hello, and they don't, give them grace, because you don't know what they're going through. Exactly. You don't know why they're not answering, but just realize it has nothing to do with you because they don't even know you, and focus on what you're doing and not what they're doing.
Exactly. It's so important what you said. It is not all about us. It is not all about you and me and, oh my gosh, but why'd you say that? Because, blah, 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 you did. And I was like, no. Time to take a deep breath and go, no, it's not me. It's just where you're at. And we all are at a different place at a different time at a different morning. And God forbid, you don't know what's going on in others' lives. You don't. So until you read minds, which I don't recommend, I don't read minds, thank God. I've been asked a lot of times, do you read minds? No. But what I can read is body language and gestures and breathing change. All of this is part of conversation. And a lot of it, Dr. Jekyll, can you imagine where I went to school to learn 90% of what I understand about communication?
School of Hard Knocks?
That's true, but the dog was holding the rock. It was the pets. It was the animals that I was surrounded with, because I was born this crazy about animals. And luckily I had a mother who recognized that. And she was really great with all 5 of her kids. She'd see what they loved. My sister's a professional cellist and plays in the orchestra to this day. And she owned one because they made sure, even with 5 children and on a teacher's salary, there's not a lot of money going around. Cello is very expensive. But you do that with your pets. You do that with your life. So for me, when I was little, I was left alone a lot because my siblings were older. Not by a lot, but there's so much I couldn't do. I couldn't go there. I didn't need to be there. So I would talk to the cat. I talked to the neighbor's cat. I talked to the trees. The trees are fabulous, by the way. They don't have a lot to say, but they do a lot of blowing in the wind. I'm just trying to, in a light way, say communication is what you put out there. Wouldn't you love to hear it come back to you in a positive way? If you're struggling to get to that positive way, that's great because you're working on it. But realize there's so much love out there. There's so much love needed out there, and compassion that I will keep saying. Your pets are the greatest gift to start learning to love, because they just want you around. If you're dealing with a pack animal in the dog family, they always want to be around, with you, without you. And what is amazing is they're the ones that are going to first know if you're having a heart attack, if you're having an epileptic seizure, if you're having some kind of trauma. They're going to be there. Your cats are going to be there. Don't know about the ferrets and all the rest, but birds are wonderful, but they all have pros and cons. I don't know everybody who's got a skill wants to have all the skills. What that does, it waters down the best skill. So find where you want to learn more and go volunteer your time at a shelter. Go volunteer your time to walk somebody's dog who is maybe elderly, and it would cost them so much more with milk and food and things like that in their home than to pay a dog walker. You'll learn so much. And every time the dog brings the ball back, we cheer for him. I don't care which dog I have worked with or been there. It's that camaraderie and that relationship again. And you can see the glee in their face because we're looking for it. We're looking for it.
Absolutely. One thing I'd like us to touch on today also is, how do animals communicate with each other? We've heard that dolphins and whales, I think even, and birds, you see them fly all together. It's really quite impressive. How do they communicate? Do you know?
Oh yeah. Well, and this is backed up with my college education in animal science, is that one animal, let me use an example. How do you talk underwater? Well, the fish seem to have conquered that for us. If you get to see, I'll give you an example to think of, maybe it's easier for everybody. A whale is ginormous, one of the biggest animals in the ocean, maybe the biggest. And then you have goldfish, and you have clams, and you have shrimp. Just name a million things that live in the water. And some are saltwater, some are freshwater. It's irrelevant for the conversation. It's just that they are looking where they're going. Some have eyes on the side of their head because they need that vision more than anything. And they've got the tail moving for speed, to slow down, get food. All of that is the same as our bodies are put together. What they're doing that they do so much better than we are is listening. Why I wanted Dr. Jacqueline to talk about all the importance she's put into listening in her classes. It is so important for us to once in a while just shut up and listen. And I don't care if it's the crack or the bug or whatever. If you've ever lost something, I know I have, that's been really valuable. Whatever that was, your wedding ring went astray, your checkbook went astray, you're paying bills, whatever. Take a deep breath. Maybe drink some cool water. Not cold necessarily, but just some soothing cool water. If it's just over the tepid, that's okay. And what this does is water feeds the whole body. We can't do anything without water, our whole planet. And then you get your body a time to calm down. Then start thinking of retracing your steps. Do all the work that comes with, okay, now how do I find it? But if you stay in a high energy, high emotion, no clear thinker has that type of barrier. If you're going to be angry at somebody and you don't calm down before you talk to them again, I doubt it's a very quiet conversation. It's probably a really loud one. But hopefully you can take these tools and try to make them really simple, because they really are. Drink some water. 7-Up is okay, I guess, but I'd err aside from alcohol because it's a stimulant. Coca-Colas, the things with caffeine, stimulant, coffee and that kind of stuff. So maybe stick to things that are more single ingredients, tea, water, whatever. There's some fabulous teas out there if you've never tried tea. And there's lots of places you can go, lots of things you can do. Maybe you have a favorite show and it's hilarious, I hope, instead of deep. When we need those breaks, these are really simple ways. For me, I love to wind down, especially after a really busy day, walking around the neighborhood, looking at all the plants and the flowers and the designs and how we're all, I've got neighbors that have fabulous florals. And after I finish this wonderful live chat, I go out and make sure that my plants are watered, because I don't have a very small space to put them, so they're kind of crowded. And I love being amongst them. All the different petals, all the different needs. They never complain. I try not to let them wilt. That's what I'm trying to ask you. Think outside yourself, and there's going to be so much support out there if you allow it.
Amen to that. For sure.
Well, and I think we all get in our ways, don't you? Especially when we're high energy.
Well, and to your point also, when we're highly emotional, that's not the best time, in my experience, to have an important conversation with someone. And that's where the setting boundaries and asking permission really comes into play. So, for example, if I'm running from one thing to the next and you want to talk to me about something and I'm all over the place, I don't have the mental space to give to you to listen at an elevated level. Mm-hmm. So you can, which most people do, is they just start talking. They don't say, may I have 5 minutes of your time to share something with you? When someone says that, that's a sign of respect. Exactly. And then the other person on the other end, bless you, you absolutely have the right to say, actually, what you want to share is important, but I can't do it right now. Right. I could have a conversation with you in about an hour. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to be happy about it. But what you're doing is you're basically saying, I don't have it right now to give to you, and I care about you. I want to give you that time, but I can't do it right now. So many times people just barge into a room, they pick up the phone, the person answers, they just start going into whatever it is with no regard for the other person. So obviously it's going to be different with animals, but at the same time, if you're highly emotional about something and your dog starts barking, maybe take some deep breaths, just calm yourself down and put yourself in the dog's place and say, I wonder what's going on with Fido. Fido's barking for some reason, normally doesn't, and you could try to understand, look around at the environment, the atmosphere, maybe how Fido's moving, and then see how you feel and how you can react. But by yelling, by name calling, which I don't think is ever appropriate, by the way. It's escalating the situation.
Well, it is. It's confrontational. It's a war, call of times gone by. There's just so many hints of you might not have said anything, or they might not have heard anything that was, degrading, and yet it could be interpreted that. So many people at this juncture, when I was doing mediation, I actually was doing court and mediation. It was really important to listen, just what you do in your class, listen, and then listen some more, maybe ask a couple of questions on what you want clarification. But some of these people were in court for the first time in their lives, or they were young, or they were older. It didn't matter where they were. I sat down, listened to both sides, usually one at a time. We didn't have them usually in the same chair, and find out, what am I actually hearing? I'll tell you guys, if you really get into good listening, you're going to be so surprised, sometimes at least, on the information that you now have. People lie or cheat or whatever. We've all probably met some of them. And Dr. Jacqueline, I would love to hear what you've read up on this, but all of the work I've done with clients is when we start lying, the body starts giving it away, all kinds of gestures, all kinds of twitching in the eye. Some people may be really great at that, and it takes us longer to catch on, but we're listening appropriately to truly understand what's the problem or what do you want to convey. But if it's not the truth, don't you think, Dr. Jacqueline, we need to be able to cipher that out of all the muck of conversation also?
Well, definitely. There are some people who are actual experts in that field, and I know there's been books written about it. So when we are also playing the role of a listener and we are completely engaged, we have no judgment about what the other person's saying. And that is a tricky one because people have judgment about so many things. And that's typically what divides us, is because you think this is right and someone else thinks that is right. And so in the role of being an elevated listener, which is not something you can do all the time, when you give that person your undivided attention, your mind is blank. You're not thinking about anything else. And so as an example, we have 55 different shows here, and I produce a number of them. I host some of them. And there are people who absolutely have very different viewpoints than mine, but nobody knows what my viewpoints are because I don't share them, because it's unimportant. And so people sometimes get into an argument with someone because they don't agree. I'm very curious. I like to understand what other people think. And that doesn't mean I have to agree with it, but I don't have to give my opinion about it because I'm in the role of an elevated listener.
See, now that is absolutely fabulous. And I'm thinking, gosh, I hope this is, and I don't mean that our show is over, but I was hoping like this would be the most important thing I'd want everybody to walk away with, is what Dr. Jacqueline just said. I'm not into what's going on over there. I'm getting information, I'm getting all of that, but I don't have to own the feelings and the anxiety and all. Give that last sentence again if you can, because I know we speak on our passion also, but that was really, really powerful.
Thank you. I will. I'll share that as we're getting ready to close out the show for today. So when you are in the role of an elevated listener, meaning you are giving the other person the gift of actually listening to what they have to say, there are 4 behaviors that are not part of elevated listening. 1, judgment. That's ridiculous. Why do you think that?
Exactly.
First of all, the word why is also put somebody on a negative right away. So judgment, problem solving. What you need is, you don't know what I need. You have no idea what I need. And men do this a lot, by the way.
Yep.
It's something that they're probably not even aware of, but I do coach people on this. So problem solving, no. Example, the tub is overflowing. What you need to do is, no. I don't need you to tell. I just need you to listen. We all like to be heard.
Right.
The third one is interrupting. And you can see this all the time with people's body language. Well, they're ready because they're not listening. They are not listening to anything you have to say. So I want people to be aware of these that I've talked about so far. And the last one is stage hogging. Stage hogging is where someone is sharing a story. I had a great time. I went to the movies. Oh, you know what? I went to the movies and I had a great time and I saw this movie. Well, I never even got to talk about what I saw because you just took the whole the stage and stole it away from me. And now here I am left without being able to share anything. These are things that really get people into dysfunctional behavior patterns. And you see this when people are together for a long time, that this is some of what's going on. And then they wonder why they don't feel the same way about each other because no one's being heard. Well, we've been heard today and we have to go because our next show is coming up. So Pet Psychic, I'm going to thank you so much. What's the best way for people to reach you and who would you like to reach out?
You want to know anything about me? Of course, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, but my website has it all, my contact, and all of these videos are there and you can get that link. So it's bridgingworlds.us. Very simple. Because I am bridging worlds, and Dr. Jacqueline, I swear if it was not possible, but it is, I feel closer to you today, listening in detail about the class and details that I unfortunately was not able to make, but listen on our singular path of encouraging everybody out there. Listen first, action next when you have all the details. And please look up Dr. Jacqueline's class and her book. It is absolutely fabulous.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And for our audio audience only, the people listening on the podcast platforms, on Spotify, YouTube, etc., please go to bridgingworlds.us, just as Amina described. We're showing that on the screen right now. All right, my friends, we are off for another show, and Amina will be back next week, as will I. We'll look forward to seeing you then. All right, take care. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Bye for now. 5 little known secrets for dementia caregivers with Tracy Cram-Perkins.
Hi there. I am Tracy Cram-Perkins, the host of the Dementia Home Care Show here on USA Global TV and Radio. I am also the author of the book of the same name. And you'll see this QR code. This is for an extended version of the same talk. So if you want to see the full hour-long version, feel free to scan the code and go to that website. Stick with me. We'll talk about 5 little known secrets to make it a little easier to do dementia caregiving. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is a healthy aged brain, age 55 and above. The one you're seeing on the right is an Alzheimer's disease brain. It is in moderate disease. It is shrinking. It has holes in it. The memories that were in those holes no longer exist. When you're learning something, let's say in kindergarten, you learn how to tie your shoelace. Well, then by the time you're in 2nd grade, your brain remembers that information from tying the shoelace and applies it so you can learn more quickly how to tie more complex knots. So the brain is hardwired to do this for us. So it helps us learn faster so it doesn't take us long to acquire knowledge. The brain is looking for the information and they pick the closest to wherever that hole is. Let's look at some tips that we can use to help do that.
These are 5 simple tools you can use as a dementia caregiver to help your loved one. The whiteboard is a useful tool in recording the day's activities and the answers to repetitive questions. The calendar clock is a very useful tool to orient your loved one on the day, the date, and the time, and remind them of upcoming appointments. The communication cards are a great tool to bridge the gap when they can no longer tell you what's wrong. And then there's the pill minder, for when your loved one is still able to take pills but needs prompting. The final tool I want to share with you is the memory book. It tells your loved one's story. It's a great tool for distraction, redirection, also as a conversation starter, and telling you where they are in their story so you know how to answer their questions.
Music is probably the most powerful tool in your toolbox after laughter. Music is a way to maintain connection. It sticks with your brain longer than any other thing, including reading. When you're having an issue with somebody, you can play their favorite music if you move them to another room, something that makes them happy, or you can start singing songs together from their childhood. These are some of my favorite books for caregivers. My show airs on the third Tuesday of every month, and you can view past episodes on YouTube. Thank you, everyone.
This program has been brought to you in part by Tracy Cram Perkins. Connect with her and order her book at tracycramperkins.com. For more information about Alzheimer's disease, support resources, and how you can help, contact the Alzheimer's Association at 1-800-272-3900 or visit their website at www.alz.org. They offer 24/7 helpline support and a wealth of information to assist you and your loved ones.